It was reported this week that the Chiefs called the Seahawks about trading for DK Metcalf. A few weeks ago, Brett Veach admitted that passing on DK Metcalf was one of his greatest draft mistakes. JD, when I saw this report, I was like, "What? This doesn't make any sense, really." So, JD, in offseason where we drafted Xavier Worthy, first-round pick, receiver, and then we signed Hollywood Brown, one-year deal, albeit, but in large part, we've been pretty frugal when it comes to the wide receiver position. I mean, Hollywood Brown's playing on pretty much not a freebie, but like it's a pretty much a prove it deal. And if he gets certain yardage and touchdowns, he's going to make a lot of money. But the base is not that much. So JD, are you surprised that we actually called the Seattle Seahawks to try to trade for a big money wideout in DK Metcalf?
Am I surprised? No, not at all. Not at all. I believe the Chiefs needed somebody they felt like was going to move the needle. And so, DK Metcalf would have been that guy. He's the guy that could definitely do that. We could have looked at another big body who was almost like him, Xavier Leggett. And so I would even say that if we didn't get Xavier Worthy, Xavier Leggett would have been our guy. Okay. Just because of, big body size, almost same skill set, speed, fast, athletic. But this doesn't shock me at all. I mean, DK Metcalf is a guy, man, that you would love to throw the football to. So I think, obviously, with everything that transpired with Rashid Rice, they don't quite know how everything was going to go down, right? We just don't know. Everything's kind of in limbo at this moment. And so they felt like they needed to get somebody here that was going to be number one receiver, right? Or number one with Hollywood Brown. And so DK Metcalf, you could have got him for a long time. I do believe that was something that the Chiefs was really willing to do. So I'm not surprised about that at all. I'm almost surprised that we didn't hear more names come out of other guys they didn't want to go after up there. So I think the Seahawks might have been like, hey, look, we might be able to move on from DK Metcalf. We got a couple of good guys up there with Tyler Lockett, and the rookie that was there last year. Can't think of his name. Did a good job. He's a good receiver.
Jigba.
Yeah, Jigba. But no, this doesn't surprise me at all. Are you shocked by it? Let me ask you that. Are you shocked?
I am, for the mere fact that we didn't want to pay receivers money. I mean, go back to the Tyreek Hill situation. We didn't want to pay him all that money. And you look at his next 2 years. I'm looking at over the cap right now. So 2024, he makes 24 and a half. His cap number is 24.5 mil, and then next year 29.5 mil. So like it just seems like it goes away from what I guess kind of our philosophy with the wide receiver position, and why you and I wanted to go get two young guys in this draft. So you have one for 5 years in Worthy, and then another guy for 4 years. But now we're going back to wanting to pay a guy who's got 2 years left on his deal. That's a lot of money, right? There's a lot of do-re-mi for DK Metcalf. Obviously, we're fans of him. We've been fans of him since the jump, it seems like. That's a lot of money.
It is. For a top receiver. DK Metcalf's one of the top receivers in the league. And so if you're going to go after a guy, you got to make sure he's the right guy for your fit. And I'm sure that they was thinking about all the things they could have possibly done. They probably validated every single cent that they had, maybe to give to him. So we've seen that there was money thrown, like you said, Hollywood Brown. DK Metcalf might have been another guy. They might have been like, well, look, maybe we could work something out as far as, I don't know, trade value. I don't know. Maybe this is just something them kicking the tires just to see what they could have done. So I'm not shocked by it. I'm not shocked by it at all.
But being the whole thing we talked about when we drafted Worthy, you said when we talked about how this is a small man's offense, and it makes sense that we went the Xavier Worthy route as opposed to Xavier Leggett route, just based on just how the offense is and stuff. And obviously, we had interest in Metcalf, so obviously they have a plan for him. And Rashee Rice isn't, a small guy. Right. He's well, let's say he's closer to DK Metcalf than he is a Xavier Worthy type of guy. But sure. I mean, we're gonna get to it in a little bit. Rashee Rice, what the future holds for him as far as this season. But I mean, 2 years left on a deal. Do you think? I mean, if Metcalf were to come, he'd be plug and play for that Rashee Rice spot. I mean, is that what you think? Because I mean. I don't think it makes sense.
Oh man, he put no. So I mean, you could say plug and play at that spot. Rashid played a lot of slot. DK Metcalf is an outside guy. You put him out there, X, Y, whatever you want to put him. He is that split end. And so what it gives you is throw the ball up and go get it. It still gives you that Olympic style track speed out there, right? Plus he's a big body. He could just muscle guys up in the end zone, in the field, runs a lot of different routes up there, man, with them up at Seattle. So it is, as far as like the money aspect, I get what you're saying, right? That is the inquisitive part of it. But that's why I was sitting there saying, like, a guy like Xavier Leggett, who is cheaper, you get him on a rookie deal. You have him here for 5 years, and then you can kind of roll with him that way. So if these reports are coming out, we had to see exactly how serious they were in this whole deal, right? But DK Metcalf, like I said, is one of the top receivers in this game in the NFL. So we're, without a doubt, definitely go out to the number one for sure.
Well, and for the fact that Veach actually is admitting, it is, JD. I mean, GMs don't like admitting wrong, but the fact that he came out a week or so ago and said that is his greatest draft mistake is not getting DK Metcalf in the draft that we drafted. I think that was the McCall Hardman draft where we went with him instead of DK, which, in retrospect, you look at that like, oh, yeah, that is a big mistake there.
Well, listen, look, just give the numbers, right? 2023, he had 66 receptions for 1,114 yards, 16.9, 8 touchdowns. The year before that, 90 receptions for 1,048 yards, 11.6, 6 touchdowns. The year before that, 75 for 967, 12.9 average, and 12 touchdowns. And before that, it was 83 for 1,300 yards, 15.7, 10 tubs. So he's a legit guy. He's a number one. That's what they were going for. And so if you didn't have him, and I think we still would have went after getting a rookie wide receiver. I think they still would have got somebody else here. And so who's to say that they wouldn't say, hey, look, DK, let's work a different deal, maybe possibly for something longer, for a little bit cheaper, maybe works for us, maybe works for you. These guys are thinking all type of things up in their head as far as, GMs and whatnot, as far as like, contracts, as far as that goes. But I mean, he's a legitimate wide receiver number one in this league. So,
well, I guess one thing that besides the contract aspect of it, because seemingly we didn't want to pay receivers, we found that philosophy works for us. And finding ways around it, making moves around the edges, as they say.
Hold on, you say works for us? Did it work for us?
Works for us in the way of winning 2 Super Bowls without paying the Tyreek Hills of the world, I guess. In that sense, you and I obviously we wanted a receiver. We were calling the world for D-Hop. We were trying to make that happen. It didn't happen. But I guess besides that aspect, not wanting to pay receivers and bringing a guy who is making $24.5 million, that's surprising. But for me, it kind of gives me pause as to, because we don't know if this is a pre-draft conversation.
Sure, right.
The draft. But it gives me pause in the way, like, are they not satisfied with the wide receiver room? Because I mean, you look at it, you got Hollywood Brown, you got Xavier Worthy, you got Rashee whenever he does come back. Those are 3 solid guys, and Kelsey, of course. I don't know, because I mean, do you think this shows that the guys in the room, they're not satisfied with what they have? Because I mean, if we're trying to make a move for a guy that you're trading a lot of assets probably, and you're going to spend up a lot, pay a lot of money, so that's what it's like. Is it lack of confidence in the wide receiver room as it stands right now?
I'll say this. I think in any organization wants to get better, right? You just want to improve. Can you get a guy here that can help improve that room? Sure, absolutely. Do I feel like right now who they have, do they have some confidence in it? I do. I do believe that. There's some guys out there. We've seen Zay Jones just got released from Jacksonville. I think Zay Jones would be a good fit for us. He does everything right, all the little things. He's a hard worker, great work ethic. He knows how to get open. He's going to give it his all. He just had an injury this past year. And then, of course, Ridley being down there as well, he didn't really get the type of looks that he needed. But before that, he had like 80 catches or something like that the year before. Well, he can ball. He'd be a great fit in the locker room. They just say he's a great player, great person. Like everything about him, coaches like. And this is coaches speaking about this guy. Okay. And so he's a name that I think is getting thrown out there. Because look, and we've heard a lot of different things, right? So I look at this. I always got this list of wide receivers down: Rashid Rice, Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, Kadarius Toney, Sky Moore, Justin Watson, Justin Rouse. Rashid Rice is a question mark for us, right? Xavier Worthy, check. Hollywood Brown, check. Kadarius Toney, he is a question mark, but I think he's going to be good for us. I think Kadarius Toney, we get him going. Not a lot of pressure on this guy. I think he does well for us. Same thing with Sky Moore. I think Sky Moore will be able to give us something. I mean, I've just been seeing a whole lot of just the hate on Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, that they're worthless, they're not used. Look, and I don't think anything can be further from the truth, okay? Guys have bad seasons. Guys sometimes do or not what they want, what they will be. Anthony Miller, another guy, right? He's another guy. I've said it before, who can fit in. I mean, he's been under Nagy. But those guys I just named are good guys. They solid guys. They could come in, especially with Travis Kelce, can still go out and ball. They can still do those things. Can you add another guy to the room? Absolutely. Absolutely do think you can do that. And so who would be on the chopping block from just those, I would say those last four? I think you still carry 7. You carry 4 tight ends, which I think is going to be another package that you're going to be able to do with Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, Irv Smith, and Jared Wiley. So that's another option that you can utilize in the run game and the pass game with those guys. So we have targets. We have talent around us. I don't think we're lacking for anything. I think a lot of people's question is just because of Kadarius Toney, what he hasn't been able to do, so he hasn't been healthy or staying healthy on the field, is always a big question mark. And of course, you know, the debacle you had last year, the fumbles and stuff like that, you know, people's like, oh, get rid of him and whatnot. I think the Chiefs are still going to, you know, if they thought that way, they would have already been done with him. They would have already moved on from him at this point. So it can still happen. I'm just saying I think these guys still have something to give, especially until Rashid Rice comes back, or at least we know what his the diagnosis is going to be throughout for this season with him. So that's my thought.
Yeah, and also too another thing we like youth and DK Metcalf. Well, he's been in the league for such a long time. He's just like Hollywood Brown. He's still very young. He's like 26 years old. So like,
yeah,
he's still really, it's crazy.
Yeah, he only played 5 years. So,
yeah.
But he's a high character guy from my assessment of who he is, just by his words, how he talks, how he speaks about particular things, the way he carries himself. And so high character guys are guys that's always good for any locker room. Yeah, I think, man, it would have been a good fit here for us. So,
yeah, and obviously that's the that was the reason why we even talked about Tyler Lockett earlier on the offseason, we we thought they were not going to move off DK and JSN. They just drafted last year high, like with first round pick last year. Tyler Lockett's a little older than the other two guys, so probably they would get rid of the older guy versus those two. And now obviously we wanted to go for one of the guys we thought was untouchable over there. So.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think this, as far as this year's making a big splash at receiver? I mean, I still could see us picking up Zay Jones, Tyler Boyd, any of those kind of guys. But as far as next year, obviously it's looking a long time from now. It wouldn't shock you that we would make a play for one of these type of number one guys in the future.
Maybe not necessarily now. I mean, once Rashid Rice comes back and finishes up with everything he has to finish up with, he'll be done. So he'll be our number one guy. We'll still have Xavier Worthy. Can you go get another guy? Absolutely, you sure could. And so that's not out of the realm of possibility at all. So who that is and who you decide to do for a long time, we don't quite know. But like I said, a guy like Zay Jones, he could come and fit in. You could probably do like a 2 or 3 year deal with a guy like that, okay? And you have what you need to have as far as in the room.
Yeah.
So
I agree. Seems like everybody in the chat would love DK Metcalf. Seems like that was pretty unanimous there.
I don't know who wouldn't take DK Metcalf. Seriously. So let's see what everybody is saying a little bit about, some of the things out here. Ooh, what about Harmon? Is there room for him to resign, or he's no longer in the picture? I think they got guys in here who have the same ability as Hardman, and so I think they may move on from him. Okay, this is just my opinion, because now you got Xavier Worthy, right? That's who you have, can do those things. You got Kadarius Toney, right? Could do those things. So, I think he may not no longer be in the picture. So, I don't know.
Yeah, agreed. Keeping in mind, we need a wide receiver that can block for screens. JD, if Rice isn't there, and obviously, I mean, he was a rookie last year, so we saw issues in his blocking on the outsides. Who is going to be that guy on the outside, as based on the guys we have right now?
I mean, you could do. I mean, that don't take long. All you have to do is get guys in front of guys. Only one you really had to worry about is the linebacker and kind of the safety getting up on there. Hollywood Brown, he'll block. Xavier Worthy, he'll attempt to block. Put a tight end out there, he'll definitely block.
Yeah.
So we'll have somebody to block. I don't think it's really a question. Blocking is will and want to. That's what blocking is. If you have the will and the want to, you'll get it done. You'll do whatever you need, whatever it takes to go punch a guy in the mouth. If you don't have it in you, then you won't be in there. This is something also, too, that a Sky Moore can do. Sky Moore blocks. He's a pretty decent – he's a good blocker, actually. And so he's pretty like a strong guy, things that I've seen him watching. So I don't think it'll be an issue.
I just remember MVS was one of the guys last year. What you highlighted was the best one of the group, and he's no longer here.
Right, Justin Watson, if he's here, he could do the same thing. If that's it, is the case, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, but it seems like everyone's on board for the DK Metcalf. So whenever that does come up, guys, there you go. Veach is obviously a fan, so I wouldn't be surprised if that name continues to come up in Chief conversations as we continue throughout the years here.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.